Hi there, this is David and welcome to the top best 25 RPGs for each console. Here, we're going to be looking at 25 different systems, beginning with the NES and going up through the years to the current generation while highlighting what I believe to be the best RPG for each system along the way. Now, keep in mind, there is a metric ton of consoles out there, but I'm only going to be hitting the high points, like I'll talk about the 3DO and the TurboGrafx-16, but not trash like the N64 or the Atari Lynx. Also, I'll be presenting the games by the release date of the consoles. So, let's go ahead and get started. Number 1. For the NES, released in 1983, we have Dragon Warrior 3. This game was completely ahead of its time. It was the very first RPG to introduce series staples such as job class systems, multiple open worlds, optional side quests, and different modes of travel. The storyline was also full of twists and turns, and I must have spent thousands of hours on this as a kid using all different kinds of parties. Number 2. For the Sega Master System, released in 1986, we have Phantasy Star. I missed out on this series as a child, but since then I've played through this game twice, and despite its notorious difficulty, it does stand on its own 2 feet. I just wish that Sega would bundle the 4 of them together and really do the series justice with complete remakes. Number 3. For the Game Boy, released in 1989, we have Final Fantasy Legend II. This is easily my favorite game on the system. With multiple worlds to explore and endless party configurations to change up the gameplay, it's just a blast. The replay value is through the roof and it never gets stale. Even to this day, I count it among one of my favorite games of all time. Number 4. For the TurboGrafx-16 released in 1989, we have Ys 4 Dawn of Ys. This was a hell of a lot better than its SNES counterpart, with voice acting, fully rendered character portraits, and the infamous bump system of the first 2 games. It's a whole lot of fun. If you're a fan of the Ys series but you missed out on this one because it's on an obscure console, you owe it to yourself to go ahead and check it out. Number 5. For the Sega Genesis, released in 1989, we have Phantasy Star 4. Of the 4 Phantasy Star games, this is the only one that can go toe-to-toe with SNES juggernauts like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. Sega finally figured the formula out, the dungeons aren't convoluted, and the story isn't messy, and the characters aren't forced. Sega really should have kept this series going in this vein because it was just fantastic. Number 6. For the Sega Game Gear, released in 1990, we have Defenders of Oasis. I never had a Game Gear growing up, so I had to play this little gem through emulation while I was in college, and boy am I glad that I did. Basically, the game answers the question of, what would happen if Dragon Quest was actually set in Arabia? And while it's basic, it's very interesting, and it's worth a playthrough on a rainy day. Number 7. For the SNES, released in 1991, we have Chrono Trigger. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Following a group of time travelers saving the world from a planet-eating parasite, it is incredibly well done. Many series staples were introduced here as well, such as on-screen encounters and text-hitting areas in battles. If you haven't yet played this masterpiece, please do so. Number 8. For the 3DO, released in 1993, we have Lucine's Quest. Most of you have probably never heard of this game because, let's face it, it's on the 3DO for God's sakes. But it's cute, following Lucine and her party as they travel the world to save her friend. It kinda reminds me of Beyond the Beyond, except with random tactical battles. It's different, but worth it if you can find a way to play it. Number 9. For the PlayStation, released in 1995, we have Final Fantasy IX. This might be sacrilegious to some of you, but this is my favorite Final Fantasy game. It ditches the everyone can do everything trope, and it gets back to the medieval swords and sorcery that the series is known for. I love the skill building system, the whimsical world, and the towns. Nothing since has even come close to touching it. Number 10. For the Sega Saturn, released in 1995, we have Magic Knight Rayearth. While short, this little gem packs a punch. It's quite possibly my favorite working designs release. It's based off of an anime, which isn't exactly my favorite thing, but when you have such a good game as this, you can overlook that. It's kinda like if you took Lunar, but you turned it into an action RPG series. It's really unique and totally fun. Number 11. For the Game Boy Color released in 1998, we have Lufia: The Legend Returns. While this game breaks many of my RPG rules, with sins such as random dungeons and too many characters, it's still one of the most fun games that I've ever played. I thoroughly enjoyed the spiritual force mechanic in the battle system and the exploration. I love this series, and to me, this was the last great Lufia game ever made. Number 12. For the Sega Dreamcast released in 1999, we have Skies of Arcadia. This is a unique gem, the kind that only comes around once in a generation. You're given an airship from the get-go, and you're tasked with just exploring the world around you. Many times RPGs fall into the same tropes, but here, you're just having fun and adventuring for the sake of adventuring. I adore it. Number 13. For the PlayStation 2 released in the year 2000, we have Dragon Quest VIII. Up until the 7th installment, Dragon Quest really didn't evolve. They all looked and played the same. But Dragon Quest VIII changed all that and brought it into the 21st century, blowing everything else out of the water. Here you have a gorgeous open world map, fully animated cutscenes, and characters who actually have a personality. Number 14. For the Nintendo GameCube released in 2001, we have Tales of Symphonia. This wasn't my first Tales game, but this was the first one that I really fell in love with. While many other series are turning away from multiple party members with distinct classes, beautiful world maps, and elaborately designed puzzle dungeons, the Tales series embraces them wholeheartedly, and for that, I am forever grateful. Number 15. For the Game Boy Advance released in 2001, we have Mother 3. It's sad that the best game for the system wasn't released in the West. This is the only Japan-only game on my list, and it's because it teaches you a lesson on greed, corruption, and the true meaning of happiness. It's an emotional roller coaster that you will not want to put down, and it's a joy to explore every single nook and cranny. Number 16. For the Nintendo DS released in 2004, we have Radiant Historia. Loved Chrono Trigger, and do you want to see more games like that? Well, then I've got the game for you. It follows Stock as he jumps between time to save his decaying world by changing history itself, but it's almost done in like a choose-your-own-adventure style, complete with tons of bad endings. The great story and grid-based battle system is just the cherry on top. Number 17. For the PSP, released in 2004, we have Popolo Croix. I'm sure many of you won't agree with me here, but I don't care. This game is great. It's like a traditional mashup of Lunar, Dragon Quest, and Earthbound, as the story follows Prince Pietro's journey to save his mother's soul. Everyone is masterfully written, and the interconnected world really does feel alive with treasure behind every corner. Number 18. For the Xbox 360 released in 2005, we have Lost Odyssey. If you think that most JRPGs are kiddie, check out Lost Odyssey. The plot centers around Kaim, an immortal who has lost all of his memories, and he journeys around to remember and recollect his lost family. If you've been turned off by Final Fantasy lately, you might want to check this gem out. It has all the hallmarks of that great franchise with none of the recent drawbacks. Number 19. For the PS3 released in 2006, we have Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. I wasn't really a fan of this system. I just felt like a lot of the games weren't up to snuff, and they promoted graphics over substance, especially compared to all the great games on the amazing PlayStation 2. However, I could not help falling in love with this game. The world is gorgeous, the towns and designs are great, the music is ethereal, and it's just a throwback masterpiece. Number 20. For the Nintendo Wii, released in 2006, we have Xenoblade Chronicles. I thought that I had played good RPGs before, and I thought that I had seen the limit of the genre, but I didn't see anything until I saw the glory that was Xenoblade. The gameplay was fun, but the real joy was just taking it all in. Every time I entered a new zone, I was floored. I must have spent hours just like wandering and looking around. Everything was so breathtaking. Number 21, for the Nintendo 3DS released in 2011, we have The Alliance Alive. It's nice when a game tells a story, experiments with new ideas, and yet still stays true to its traditional roots, with a gorgeous world map strewn with hidden items, puzzle dungeons, and a turn-based saga-esque battle system complete with sparking abilities. All of the different worlds reminds me of the Final Fantasy Legend games from so long ago. Number 22. For the PlayStation Vita, released in 2011, we have Tales of Hearts R. Even Hideo Baba said that this was his favorite Tales game, and boy, did it live up to its reputation. The characters are funny, the skits are enjoyable, and the towns and dungeons are a joy to explore as well. It really is a shame how Sony treated the Vita in the West though, because it definitely deserved better. Number 23. For the Nintendo Wii U released in 2012, we have Xenoblade Chronicles X. Just when I thought that Nintendo couldn't top the original, they came out with this sequel, where you explore 5 continents from the singular hub town. Each continent is massive and filled to the brim with secrets, powerful enemies, tunnels, treasures, and lore. This isn't just a game, it's a journey, so get ready to dive in. Number 24. For the PlayStation 4, released in 2013, we have Dragon Quest XI. Thought that Dragon Quest VIII was great? Well, this took everything wonderful about it and it upped the ante. Now encounters are on screen, the party size is doubled, and the weapon tree system is greatly expanded. Dragon Quest XI plays like the game that Enix always wanted to make, they just weren't able to because of hardware limitations. And number 25 for the Nintendo Switch, released in 2017, we have Octopath Traveler. Remember those Saga Frontier games, or even Live a Life, where you could choose your hero, play their scenario, then at the end you would meet up and beat like the big baddie? Well, this is how those games would be if they were actually good. I always felt that those games kinda crapped ass, but Octopath Traveler puts the polish on that they also desperately needed. Well, that's it for the top 25 best RPGs per console. What are your favorite RPGs for each console? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments, and if you like this video and what I do here on the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. The link to it can be found in the video description. This has been David. If you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.